This is the greatest financial experiment in human history, and almost no one realizes they are living inside it. Global debt, public, private, corporate, household, has expanded to levels no civilization has ever carried before. Governments borrow trillions as if numbers no longer matter. Central banks create money with keystrokes. Families sign away decades of future income as casually as buying groceries. And yet, we are told this is normal, that this is stable, that this can last. History tells a very different story. Debt has never been neutral, it has never been harmless, and it has never existed without consequences. Debt is not just an economic tool. It is a system of power that reshapes societies long before collapse becomes visible. The real question isn't if this system will break, it's when, and who will pay when it does. To understand where this experiment ends, we need to understand where debt began. Long before coins, markets, or banks, human societies were already bound together by obligation. The earliest civilizations did not begin with money. They began with debt. In ancient Mesopotamia, economic life wasn't built on free exchange. It was built on coordination. Fields were planted collectively. Harvests were stored centrally. Labor was organized by temples and palaces. Value existed, but not as currency. It existed as accounting. Barley and silver were units of measure, not everyday money. They recorded who owed what to whom and when. What mattered wasn't ownership, but promise. From the beginning, debt wasn't a flaw in the system, it was the system. Early loans weren't speculative. They were practical advances of seed grain or tools. Farmers borrowed to survive the season and repaid after the harvest, with fixed interest. Those interest rates barely changed for centuries, not because markets were inefficient, but because the system was designed for predictability, not profit. This wasn't capitalism. It was an administered economy. Debt was tolerated only as long as it served production. Because ancient life was fragile. Floods, droughts, and pests could wipe out an entire harvest. One bad year could ruin a family. 2 could enslave it. Rulers understood a dangerous truth. Debt grows faster than people can repay it. If left unchecked, debt would strip farmers of land, break families, weaken armies, and collapse tax systems. That's why debt was never treated as purely private. Contracts existed, but they were not sacred. When debt threatened social stability, rulers intervened. At key moments, especially at the start of a reign, debts were canceled. Land was returned. People trapped in debt bondage were freed. This wasn't forgiveness, it was restoration. Debt cancellation wasn't weakness, it was governance. Ancient societies understood something we've forgotten. Enforcing debts beyond the ability to repay doesn't create order, it destroys it. Temples and palaces acted as early financial institutions. They issued credit, stored grain, and absorbed losses when nature intervened. Interest was fixed. Failure wasn't moralized. Debt was managed, not weaponized. But as societies grew more complex, flexibility declined. Certain debts stopped being canceled. Land transfers became permanent. Creditors learned how to protect their claims. Debt didn't suddenly become oppressive, it became permanent. And once debt becomes permanent, society changes. Land concentrates, citizenship shrinks, dependency grows. That was the crack in the foundation. As trade expanded and ambition grew, debt moved upward, from farmers to kings. States discovered they could borrow against the future. Rulers borrowed to fund wars, build monuments, and expand empires. Debt became the bloodstream of power. The Renaissance made this unmistakable. In Florence, banking families like the Medici didn't just lend money, they financed governments. And lending to a state is different from lending to a farmer. A farmer can disappear. A kingdom must either pay, conquer, or collapse. Spain's empire looked unstoppable in the 16th century. Silver flooded in from the New World. But beneath the surface, Spain wasn't running on silver, it was running on debt. Despite its treasure, Spain declared bankruptcy multiple times. That lesson still matters. Even an empire rich in resources can drown when debt grows faster than reality. After World War I, debt reached a new scale. Germany's reparations under the Treaty of Versailles were so crushing that economists warned they would destabilize the country. They were right. Hyperinflation followed. Savings vanished. Society fractured. Debt once again proved it wasn't just economic, it was political fuel. After World War II, the modern financial system was designed. The dollar was tied to gold. Other currencies were tied to the dollar. Stability returned, for a while. But reserve currency systems contain a temptation. If the world needs your money, you can print more of it. By 1971, the illusion broke. The US ended the gold link. Debt was now untethered. Governments could borrow without physical limits, constrained only by confidence. And confidence is fragile. Central banks learned to manage economies through interest rates. When growth slowed, borrowing increased. When crises hit, more debt patched the hole. Each rescue normalized dependence. Debt expanded during booms. More debt prevented collapse during busts. The system became addicted. The 2008 crisis wasn't about housing. It was about leverage. Debt stacked on debt until a small shock shook the entire system. Banks were rescued. The system was saved. But ordinary people paid the price. Debt revealed its true nature. When things go wrong, the powerful are protected. Today, global debt exceeds anything history has seen. It's invisible, normalized, abstract, but it behaves the same way it always has. When rates rise, the burden appears. Governments struggle, households strain, corporations wobble. Debt is harmless while it sleeps, deadly when it wakes. History gives us only three endings. You repay it, you inflate it away, or you default. No system escapes this. Inflation is the quiet favorite. It erodes savings without debate. It repays debt with weaker money, a hidden tax. Debt is not just economics. It is power. It decides who gets rescued, who absorbs pain, who pays for promises they never made. Understanding debt isn't optional anymore. It's survival literacy. Because the system will reset. It always does. The only question is whether you see it coming. If this changed how you see the world, subscribe. History has the answers, if you're willing to look.